Hey everybody, this is Tele2 Sports Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Fitz, and I got to make good on telling the truth about how great this weekend was in the NFL. It was drama. It had last second craziness and just wild endings and finality. The finality of not making the playoffs will hit some of the teams. Now, I want to talk about the big game. It was Jacksonville and Denver because they're both fighting for home field advantage. And Trevor Lawrence, it was 17-17. So Trevor Lawrence took over, had his Michael Jordan moment where he took over and scored 17 straight points, a touchdown run, a pass to ATM, a field goal. He drove up and down the field, finished the drive off, and they dominated Denver. In Denver, their defense is for real, shutting down Bo Nix. I mean, he had is more. You look at the QBR rating; it tells you more of the story than his 352 yards passing because he's 28 of 47. That's almost it's 59%. And Harvey had one good run, but he only had that run. He only had 50 yards rushing. They shut Denver down, and Bo Nix had an 80.81 QBR. It's not in the hundreds. That lets you know all you need to know about what they did. And it was the fourth quarter when the Jacksonville took over and they imposed their will. And they're a Super Bowl contender. They're a Super Bowl contender because I think they are Lawrence turned the corner and they have ATN running. They are just as solid as they want to be. And I believe what made Jacksonville good is just a change of philosophy for to have the best complementary football you can have, and that is important. And you saw it in the Denver game; they needed that. They need that. Now they're a game behind with the tiebreaker over Denver, and Parker Washington has emerged, as the star receiver, and that's huge. You know, Parker Washington had 6 receptions, 145 yards passing. Very, very impressive. And I knew Jacksonville was good when they walked into San Francisco, who's playing good. They're a playoff team this year. Walked into San Francisco and just took that game from the Niners. And then they beat up on the Colts. They're going to win the division probably. But whew, I just was very impressed with the overall, just the whole culture changed when Liam Cohen came in there. And he's fiery and he got Trevor Lawrence on schedule. They're just solid and they play complementary football when it comes to defense. The sum is better than the part, the whole. And they just attack, and it's always attack, offensively and defensively. And Denver was undefeated at home and took Denver out. Very, very, very impressed. The other game I was impressed with was New England coming back and beating the Ravens, and they took the game. Even though Lamar Jackson got hurt, hey, listen, Hunley came in here and they went right down the field and end up scoring. And that was impressive. And they took, when Derrick Henry rushed to make it 24-13, wow, they're going to pull this game out with their backup quarterback. Very impressive. And they ran the ball well. And now here comes New England, and now Drake May leading 2 touchdown drives. The Kyle Williams was a fantastic pass. But then Stephen runs for a 21-yard touchdown late when they end up stopping the Ravens. Now, if the Ravens, like last week, forget all the calls. If the Ravens run Derrick Henry, they win against Pittsburgh. They just run him. Just run him and run him and run him until he's tired. And they run Derrick Henry in the second half the rest of the game. We're going to run you. We're going to run you till you can't run. I don't care how many times you fumble. Because big guys have a tendency to fumble because they run upright and they try to run you over. And now, with the way they're punching the ball out, I looked at Washington on Steelers, and I always say, please, please hold on to the ball every time he gets it. Because he's going to look to run people over and be like, no, I'm going to try to punch this out because I don't want to hit you head on. So he fumbled once. So what? I'd have ran him and ran him and ran him. And then you'd have ran yourself into a victory and you'd been in better shape, even without Lamar Jackson. But New England was feisty. And I felt like Stephon Diggs imposed his will on this game with that great fourth down pass and catch him and Drake May did to lead to a touchdown. And his 9 receptions for 138 yards, making tough catches in traffic. Because the trend in the NFL and college is drop passes. Two things that that get on my nerves when I watch the NFL and college: drop passes and untimely illegal procedures. Just watch these games and you'll see that I'm telling the truth about that. But not New England. They just about caught every ball that was thrown to them. Hunter Henry was solid. And they're like Jacksonville's defense, the sum is better than the part. They don't have great, other than Diggs. They don't have the running backs are solid. It's just well coached. The whole culture changed after last year. And Mike Vrabel installed his discipline, and they're solid. I don't think they're ready yet, but they're right there, and they may get home field if Denver loses to the Chargers. But I think you could walk into New England this year and beat them. Like if the Texans or maybe even the Bills having to come back there and take it again. A really good wild card team is going to emerge, and it's going to be they're going to be really tough because Houston is, even though they barely beat the Raiders, Houston has been playing good. Their defense has been solid. That was a hiccup pretty much in this game, but other than this game, they've been just dominant. And their defense, I watched them against the Chiefs, just stuffed the Chiefs. And they need to run a little better. But Nico Collins and company with Stroud is solid. Now, the game I watched, of course, is Pittsburgh-Denver. And I'm thinking, oh, boy, I don't think my guys are going to win this one. But maybe the Ravens will lose, which they did. We'll try to get Cleveland. And when it was 10-3, the way the Lions were kind of controlling things, they weren't running the ball. They only had 15 yards rushing. The number one rushing team in the league. And the Steelers were inept until Harmon came back. Is Harmon that big a difference on defense? And when that crazy play the game well, because when they had the ball, I said, let's get a field goal, make it 10-6, and get the ball back. But he threw the ball all the way down the field, and Gainwell made an incredible catch, tie game. The entire look of that game changed. Steelers, okay, we got a chance now. And they did what they had to do. Washington fumbled when they were driving in for the game go-ahead score. And like I said, big guys have to be careful now. Even if they're big and strong, there's a tendency where they get stripped. And I was like, oh, man. But they got they got a safety. And then they came back down the field and ended up getting a field goal, using up about 10 minutes of the clock. And then they're getting stops because now Detroit can't run. And that's a big part of their mechanism. They passed the ball well, but it's derived off their running game. They wanted to have that balance, and they didn't. And they pressure golf up the middle a lot, and they got stops. And it's a great offense. So Steelers came down, and I'm going to tell you something. Because of how Gainwell's been running, Jared Allen is fresh. You could tell the 45-yard touchdown. This is important because now you have a two-headed monster, and Warren is running good. Gainwell had Barkley actually when the Eagles won, giving him a breather. But Gainwell's really been a godsend. And then here comes the Lions. Boom, 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 touchdown. That was typical Lions drive, 22-17. Now, oh boy. Okay, Stills, we got to score back because I don't know if we can stop him anymore. Jared Warren did it again, 45-yard touchdown. Then here comes the Lions again. Boom, boom, boom. Jared Goff, touchdown to Jahmyr Gibbs. Nice play call. Oh boy. Now the Stills got to drive again. They did. They did. And they drove all the way down the field. And they have a chance to go up 8. All right. Going to go up 8. Worst case scenario, they come right back down the field. And all Detroit can do is tie it. Maybe have some time left to end the game. Boswell misses the field goal, which he never ever does, which we're all human. So every once in a while, it's going to happen like that. He never does miss. He's super clutch. And I said, come on, Pittsburgh, get Boswell's back. I don't want to be a narrative. Chris Boswell lost the game. I was like, come on, get his back. Here comes Detroit driving up. I was like, oh, no. But then they got the stop at the end, a 4th and 1. They stopped them, and the whistle was blown because Porter grabbed his name. The wide receiver for Detroit. Come on, Ron. It was Amara St. Brown. I'm sorry. He had the ball and Porter pushed it back. It was short of the goal line. They could have slammed him, would have been a penalty. So they grabbed back. The play's dead. Then he pitches it. But it was offensive pass interference, which it was calling all day long. And that's the end of the game. And Pittsburgh ends up winning. And they have a good shot. If the Lions win against Minnesota, and the Lions are going to bounce back because Dan Campbell, they're not just going to lay down. If the Lions beat Minnesota, which will be tough, but it's doable. Green Bay's got to win that game because the Lions are breathing down their neck still. If Green Bay beats the Ravens in Green Bay, then Pittsburgh should rest everybody. I don't know if how he's going to be suspended or not. Even if the person in the stands that talked about your mama and racial slurs, if you walk up to him like, security, get this bum out of here. You could have did that instead of hitting him. That just, you can't do that. And he's been level-headed. He's not one of those knuckleheads. He's been a good soldier in Pittsburgh. But that happened, he probably gets suspension. But if the Pittsburgh gets what they need, because I don't want them having to play the last game and needing it for once in the blue moon. They don't need the whole AFC to lose just to get in the playoffs. I would rest everybody. No, I wouldn't rest everybody against Cleveland. I would play, and then nobody's playing for that last game. And TJ Watt's not playing, period, to the playoffs. And that would be the luxury they have. Everybody get healthy. Just to at least get the playoff game, try to get the one playoff win so they don't talk about this anymore. But you might get the Texans or the Chargers or the Bills. It's going to be extremely difficult to win that game, but you got to figure out how to win this game. And if you do that, then you could really work on it's going to be difficult to go to Denver. New England, even though they won there before, it's hard to beat a home team twice in a year. It's still more winnable than Denver's going to be difficult. Jacksonville is going to be very difficult. But it's winnable because these are young teams. So you never know. Now, the NFC, I did a video. I couldn't quite upload it on how the Rams were goofy throwing that game away against the Seahawks with all the goofy things they did. And the Seahawks end up stealing the games on a punt return and another score late, scoring those 15 points late, 16 points late. And then in overtime, the Rams score, and then they can't play any defense to stop Sam Darnold, pick them apart. The Rams, I don't know if they have a Super Bowl defense. Credit to the Seahawks. But the Rams have still got a chance to get home field advantage. Because Seattle has the card at Carolina, and Carolina's balling. They beat Tampa yesterday, and Bryce Young was a hero, and he did what he had to do to beat Tampa late. And Baker Mayfield had a bad interception, and they lost by 3. I think Carolina's going to beat Seattle. They're on a roll, and Carolina and Tampa is going to be for the division the final week, and then they got at San Francisco. So if Frisco can lose to the Colts tonight and then beat Seattle, the Rams are going to end up winning the division, winning division, getting home field. Because this is either going to be Seattle, the Rams getting home field. But what could happen, and I think may happen, is the Chicago Bears getting the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. What they have in front of them, let me look at what they have in front of them. At San Francisco, very difficult. At home versus Detroit. NFL schedule maker did a good job because these are all tough games. Whoever gets the home field advantage in the NFC and the AFC is going to earn it. But if Seattle gets a home field, they're difficult in that building with the 12th man. If Chicago gets the home field advantage, and Seattle or the Rams or any of these teams that don't always, Tampa or Carolina, have to go to that frigid weather in Chicago in January, that's a huge advantage. And Caleb Williams, you saw the dime he did. I'll talk about this game. Because when Green Bay's starting quarterback got hurt, and Malik Willis had to come in, that was as impressive. Malik Williams came out there and they weren't just running the ball, he was throwing dimes, running the ball well. And Chicago wasn't ready for that. You know, Malik Williams to Romeo Doubs, they're up 13-3, and looks like they're ready to finish them in the cold. But Santos had a clutch 51-yard field goal. And then what's happened is Caleb Williams, they're driving for the game time score. Caleb Williams threw 2 terrible passes in the red zone. And then he floated the ball perfectly to Jaden Walker for a 6-yard touchdown. I almost thought he overthrew him. He had the poise because they call him the Ice Man, and he was cool as ice. And he even did the little ice thing. I understand. Overtime, Caleb Williams throws a dime to DJ Moore. I didn't know if he caught it because he just fell to the ground like he had a concussion, but he was just happy he won the game. And what I like about the Bears and James Johnson, swift, running the ball well, Moore catching the ball well. They're complementary football. They're running with a physicality. Look how they punched the Eagles in the face in Philadelphia. And you know what? Because the Eagles are starting to come on now, beating up on Washington. And I look at the stats here. It looks like the Eagles kind of, even though it's Washington, I like Smith playing well. Barkley, 132 yards. Hurts, 182, 2 TDs. Brown, 9 receptions and 95 yards. Everybody was involved. And if they have to go to Chicago, how interesting would that be? They would be pretty angry, and Chicago would try to run down their throat again because Chicago's going to try to punch in the face. They like to pass the ball, but they want to run that ball in between the tackles in the A and B gap over and over again. I want to see if the Philadelphia Eagles can respond. But who gets home field? Is it going to be Chicago? Is it going to be Seattle? Is it going to be the Rams? Is it going to be the Niners? And can Green Bay hold? They got to beat Baltimore. Huge game. Detroit's got to win on Christmas to make some drama. I want them to win on Christmas. So there's drama. Now Green Bay's got to win because Detroit can get 2 games. And sneak in. And all you got to do is get in. But if Green Bay gets in and somehow they could get a little healthy, but without Parsons, that's rough. But can Jordan Love come back. But they're in good hands with Malik Willis. But can Malik Willis do that again? And the one thing about the Ravens, I noticed they play a lot of tight man to man, and Green Bay could go over the top because Humphrey gets burned a lot, and they have no adjustments because DJ Metcalf burned them the last week, and this week he got burned by Diggs, and I'm not doing that. I'm not going to have him tight one on one with my best receiver, but if that happens in Green Bay and Green Bay's angry that they lost to Chicago, I think Green Bay gets them. It sends the Ravens home, and that's going to be interesting if the Ravens don't make it. Of course, they still have a chance because Cleveland's playing better, and Pittsburgh would have to beat Cleveland if they pull that game out against Green Bay. And Cleveland almost beat Buffalo. So they're playing a little better ball. Great defense. Shador's playing a little better. But if Pittsburgh gets in, if they get in, they're slated to play the Chargers. If I had a choice of teams, as good as the Chargers are, if I had a choice of teams I'd rather play Chargers. I don't want to play the Bills. Not yet. But Houston's on fire. But out of those three teams, the least I would play is Buffalo after they ran the ball all over Pittsburgh. So that is the NFL wrap up. It was a great weekend, but it's going to probably be even better next week.